Hi, today I'm talking to Matthew, and I'll give you a chance to introduce who you are.
Hi, my name is Matthew Balsden. I'm a fourth year student at UBC doing a co-op at Avigilon, which is a security camera company. I'm a firmware developer. I'm doing a computer science degree through the Bachelor of Arts at UBC, and I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. So, what would you say an average day at Envision work looks like for you?
So first of all, it's hybrid work, so sometimes I'll be in the office and sometimes I'll be at home. Um, I'm a firmware developer, which means I'm working pretty closely with the circuits and the hardware, which means a lot of the time, me and my team will have to be in the office to actually fiddle with like wires and make sure data is being sent through, properly. So, average day is, I guess you get up at 9, you start working, and then at 10, we'll have a little meeting between our team. There's a large amount of developers at the company, but we're broken up into smaller teams. And I'll have a meeting with my team every morning where we'll talk about what needs to get done, how the product cycle, like what part we're in, what needs to be done, if there's any like issues that customers have that we need to tend to, and what everyone's working on for the day. After that, kind of get to work. It's a lot of, I guess, coding is the obvious one, where you're programming, you're completing tasks, tickets, whatever you want to call them. Often you'll be working with your coworkers to like look at bugs that are occurring, helping them out, reviewing each other's code. Sometimes you'll have meetings where you have to talk about overall system design, talk to product managers, see what new features need to be implemented, old ones that need to be fixed. Yeah, it's about what an average day looks like.
Okay, what would you say then, or would you say that you get a chance to get to know your employees pretty well, or as a software engineer, are you more hands-off and you kind of stick to your own?
Um, I mean, I think it differs depending on the company, but with me, we're pretty social. Like we kind of have to communicate. Even, we're in a team structure for a reason. People are there to help you out and you're there to help them out. And often tasks will be bigger than one person can complete in a reasonable amount of time. So you'll have multiple developers working on the same thing, which necessitates teamwork and communication. So yeah, there's a good amount of talking. I don't think I've ever gone a day without having to message someone or walk up to them in the office.
All right, then what about when you're in school? Since you're still in school, you're still kind of in the trenches. What would you say an average day looks like there?
At school, definitely a lot less talking as compared to work. Like you'll usually go to class, write your notes, figure out what assignments need to be done, study for tests, whatever the docket holds. So I guess an average day, it's a lot more flexible in that regard. You're kind of just waking up and finishing what needs to be done for the day, which can vary quite wildly. Like if it's midterm season or if the school year just started. So yeah, in computer science, lots of assignments, I'd say. You have like quizzes to study for, weekly assignments, labs.
What advice would you have then for high school students considering going into computer science, maybe to prepare for it or to just get into the program at any university?
Um, I think the biggest thing to get in, I guess, is honestly to just have good grades and build a nice profile, like have a body of work that shows that you make sense to be put into the computer science program. Once you get in, I think a lot of people aren't like people have said this before, but a lot of people aren't prepared for the amount of freedom and the much heavier workload that comes. And those two things together can kind of create a disaster if people aren't prepared properly, because you'll have so much more work and like so little incentive to do it if there's no one breathing down your back. And that was something you relied on in high school. But yeah, computer science is a very like assignment heavy degree. So you should be expecting to be at your computer a lot of the time, reading through stuff, like trying to figure out what's wrong with your code, etc., etc.
By freedom, do you mean like you're adult now in university. It's up to you to decide to sit down and do your homework. It's not that you have
Yeah,
teachers there pressuring you. It's up to you to manage it all.
yeah, exactly. Like a lot of people are away from home too, so as compared to before when someone would have their mom telling them to do their homework, like now you're in your dorm and you can just go, you know, party or play games all day if you wanted to. And there's nothing like really stopping you from doing that.
Okay. What would you say then is the best thing about computer science that people should look forward to?
Um, I think, and this is the reason I enjoy it, is because there's lots of, it's like very stimulating. Like you're not, it's never boring, I'd say. You're always like trying to solve something, solve problems, figure out how to make things better. So like, yeah, I don't know. As compared to a degree where you'd be doing a lot of memorization and studying, the only way you can really study in computer science is to sit down and like work on problems, kind of like a maths degree, something like that, or engineering. Yeah.
On the flip side, then, what would you say is one of the most challenging or frustrating things about computer science?
I think it's a double-edged sword where I mentioned before there's like a heavy workload. That means you'll be getting a lot of simulation and being able to tackle lots of different problems, but that can get overwhelming. If you look at like the grade distribution in computer science classes, it's not that bad, but under it is like sitting down for, 8 hours staring at like the same problem and trying to figure out why it doesn't work. A big one people always mention is like bugs. You can have like code that looks like it should work and everything makes sense, and then it just doesn't work. And 4 hours later, you find out that like a little greater than sign was supposed to be a less than. So that can be really frustrating. But yeah.
One last question for you then before we wrap up. Going from your studies into your first co-op as a working full-time employee, what was something that surprised you or you weren't expecting about the workplace?
Um, I think there's, in computer science, people think they kind of lump this in with like software engineering, software development. It's all under the same tree, but a computer science degree entails a lot more theory, like how, a computer is designed, or like the history of algorithms and like why these ones don't work, or like you'll learn a bunch of proofs. You'll have to like write mathematical proofs on why this algorithm is the best for solving this problem. But when you get to the workplace, like this is just not a useful skill, because A, you can Google it, and B, like you run into these problems maybe 5% of the time. A lot of the time, the biggest skills that are required in the workplace as a firmware developer, at least, and I would assume as a software developer, are people skills and kind of macro, like overarching ideas of how things fit together, like design skills essentially, as compared to like these, old ancient theories that they teach you about in school.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time today. I really appreciate you coming out and you take care.
Yeah, you too. Thank you, Alex.